Track Record with your hosts Mike Shea and Robert Yetter. Brought to you by Eventide Entertainment.
Good morning, everyone. It's Track Record. You know you missed us. It's another episode. It's March now, so we're going to do Best of February. Best new release. I've got a great pick. I will say it's a great pick. Something that I've never experienced before. It opened my world. It opened my eyes to new worlds. I'm very excited about it. How about you?
I'm stoked, man. I got
a little moist for it.
I'm a little moist. Yeah, I got some cool stuff to talk about today. Some heartwarming stuff, some fun stuff, some interesting stuff. This is going to be a good show, I think.
Okay. Hey, we know that I'm not drinking anything anymore. How about you, man?
Tonight it's just water. I was at the open mic night before we recorded this and had a few beers. Had a tequila pear cider.
Oh man, put that in my face.
I gotta see if they have some to buy. Oh man, like that was some good. So I had quite a few of those. So I'm tapering down for the night and just drinking some water. It's like we're releasing this at 9 a.m. on a Wednesday, but it's 11:20 p.m. on a Monday right now.
That's right.
We're tired. So
people think. I think people think that we drink during the day and are just drunk all day.
I used to. That used to be me. I'm pushing 30. I can't do that anymore.
You know, I have like a job.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah. Kind of gets in the way of that. So
a little bit. I have to have, nuclear clearance and shit, so my job.
You're that cool.
No alcohol for that one.
All right, man.
Or else I have no jobby anymore. Oh. Okay. Mike, you're going to kick it off, my friend.
I'm kicking it off, man. I got a great album to talk about called Thunderbolt from the band Saxon, which just screams all kinds of power metal goodness. Robert, I know you're not the biggest fan of power metal. I love me some. I know it's cheesy, and sometimes it can get a little too cheesy. I think Saxon is one of those bands, kind of like Judas Priest, who they're not over that line of being too cheesy. They still keep it.
I think 80% of power metal is the vocalist, and my like of it or not. If they have an okay vocalist, then I'm okay with it.
That's fair.
But
I'm inclined to agree. I think the vocalist actually is what makes or breaks a power metal band. You've got to have just the right kind of vocalist for it to be good. And I think Saxon's one of the bands that actually does it pretty well. Now, they're a band that was formed back in 1977. They were coming around about the same time as Judas Priest. And it's actually fitting because in 2 weeks I'll be seeing Judas Priest and Saxon in Youngstown. So, yay me.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap. So, Thunderbolt actually came out at the beginning of February 2nd of this year, 2018. They've been working on the album actually for about 2 or 3 years, though, because they actually have a song on the album dedicated to Lemmy Kilmister of Motorhead, who passed away in 2015. So they have a song dedicated to him and to the band Motorhead. But they've been planning this album since about 2015, so it's about 3 years in the making. This is a fun power metal album. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but it's not so on the nose that it's off-putting. There are some great song titles like Olympus Rising, The Secret of Flight, Nosferatu, The Vampire's Waltz, Predator, Sons of Odin. Lots of good like old school Viking and occult mythology references. There's the song They Played Rock and Roll, which is the song dedicated to Lemmy and Motorhead. And the album itself, for a power metal album, isn't that long. Most power metal albums clock in about an hour. This one's just over 45 minutes. So it's like a good get home, blast through the album, and go on about your day. The album itself was produced by Andy Sneap. If you don't know who Andy Sneap is, Andy Sneap has been the producer.
That sounds really familiar.
He has been the producer for bands like Judas Priest, Saxon, Opeth, Amon Amarth, Arch Enemy, Exodus, Megadeth. I mean, you name a band, he's probably Testament was a big one. He's been in the news lately because he's actually produced the newest Judas Priest album, and their guitar player Glenn Tipton, who's been with the band since day one, and was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and so he'll be actually playing Glenn's guitar parts on the live show. But he was a member of the band Sabbath and the member of the band Hell for a couple of albums. And he's produced for Napalm Death, Machine Head, Obituary. It's just everybody.
It's the name sounds familiar from something else though. Like something like maybe Guitar Strings or
that's a good question. We'll look
or something like that. Some sort of accessory. But anywho,
yeah. I mean, Andy Sneap is one of those guys who's just like in the rock and metal, universe. He's a name everybody knows. He's worked with everybody and everyone on just about everything. So to have him produce this album already kind of gives you this sense of comfort, like it's in good hands. Like if you watch a film that was directed by a director you really like, hey, at least I know this director tried. And so with this album, it really it felt like they took great care in the crafting of it. The production quality is just solid. And one of the things I like really a lot about it is there's no bonus tracks. It's just all on one album. Bonus tracks are fine, but just like if you're going to put them on the album, just put them on the album. We've talked about this before. I don't need the deluxe Super Japan edition with the remix version of the B-side that has like 3 extra seconds of guitars. I don't need all that. Just put the songs on the album and let me enjoy it. Biff Bifford as the vocalist once again, since he's definitely got a style that if you listen to Judas Priest is similar, but it's unique in its own way. Rob Halford at Judas Priest, his vocals are more aggressive and meant to kind of like make you go whoa, whereas with Biff Bifford it's more just to kind of it's not that they're not aggressive, it's that they're a little more on the melodic side, and he knows how to phrase his melodies and his harmonies really well. Not that Rob Halford can't, but like that's where Biff Bifford puts his focus is in the harmonies and the melodies, and less of the aggression and kind of the raspiness of it. The song They Played Rock and Roll by which is the one dedicated to Motorhead and Lemmy, is just heartwarming and heart-wrenching because it kind of reminds you of just what we lost in the death of Lemmy, what the music industry lost. There's a great song on here called Predator that is definitely one of the more aggressive songs because that features the vocalist Johan Hegg from Amon Amarth, and they kind of duet, and it's just that's some heavy metal goodness right there. It's some good shit. Again, like in the lyrics and in the titles, a lot of the Viking mythology and occult mythology is very present, and it's a lot of fun to listen to. You can tell these guys know their shit when it comes to mythology, and they know how to craft stories and phrases to celebrate that. As far as how the album has charted so far, it's only been out for a month. It peaked at number 5 on the German in Germany. It peaked at number 6 in Switzerland. As far as the U.S. goes, I don't actually have numbers for the U.S. They're not a band that typically charts very well in the U.S. They are from England, but over in the U.K. they peaked at 29. But if you pick a European country, it placed pretty high there. But yeah, I don't have any numbers for the U.S. The most I have is Metal Hammer gave it a 5 out of 7, and Team Rock gave it a 4 out of 5. But other than that, I don't have any like sales or anything for how it did in the U.S. But they've been touring pretty heavily on their own prior to the album's release to help promote it. They did some shows with Diamond Head and Magnum and Airborne. And now, like I said, they're getting ready to go on tour with Judas Priest. So that's just going to be a fire fucking concert, man, let me tell you. I don't really know how much else to say or what else to say about the album other than just if you like old school heavy metal, if you're a fan of power metal, or you're not sure, like in Robert's case, knowing that he's picky about the vocalist, I'd want him to give this a shot and see if it's the kind of vocalist, because I know like as far as the lyrical content goes, I know, Robert, you like your Viking shit.
Oh yeah,
you like your Viking metal. I know you like Amon Amarth. So, and you can definitely, like, listening to this, you can definitely see where bands like Amon Amarth drew influence from it. So, this is something I would recommend to someone like Robert, who's not as familiar with power metal, but does have his likes and his dislikes and his issues with it. So, it's something I definitely give a try. If for nothing else, then just to say you tried it. Really. I think Saxon's the kind of band that people go back and forth on a lot because they're not a big name when it comes to power metal, and they tend to do things that are kind of by the numbers, kind of by the book, but they're also one of the bands that wrote that book, so it's excusable. Like, it's one thing to say, oh, you're just following the pattern of power metal, but if you're the one that kind of helped create that pattern, you're allowed to do with that pattern what you will, I think. So, all in all, you know, it was good. It did feel a little, like I said, kind of paint by numbers. They didn't really do anything new with this. I didn't really expect them to, but it also kind of would have been a nice surprise. I'm going to give it 3.5 out of 4 purple stars, just because as much as I love what Saxon does and didn't expect anything different, there's always that little part of me that's like, you could have tried something new. Just one song. Could have just done one song that was a little bit off the beaten path, but I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say the album suffered because it didn't have that, but I'll give it a 3.5 out of 4. I really enjoyed it. I'm waiting for an excuse to have a road trip so I can put this. This is a good driving album. This is a good album to have for a long car trip. So
there you go.
So go check it out. That's Thunderbolt by Saxon. Make sure if you guys get a chance, I think there's still some shows that have tickets. Check them out with Judas Priest here on tour with some other band that I don't know. It's got the singer from Thin Lizzy in it. That's all I know. I'm going for Priest anyway. So those are my thoughts. I'm always curious to hear what you guys thought. Make sure you guys send us tweets.
There's nothing better than sitting around and enjoying the comforts of a good book. But what book should that be? Well, every Sunday, Eventide brings you The Bookseller, hosted by Jessica Gillen. Each week, Jessica breaks down a different book and tells you everything you need to know before cracking it open and getting lost in a whole new world. Tune in every Sunday for The Bookseller with Jessica Gillen, brought to you by Eventide Entertainment.
You know, there's nothing quite as satisfying as a good conversation with intelligent company.
Join comedian Don Smith every week as he sits down and talks with comedians, actors, filmmakers, writers, and everyday schmoes. It's The Life with Don Smith, Wednesdays at noon on 106.9 FM, and now available on the Eventide Entertainment podcast feed every Friday on Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes.
If there's one thing that's true about wrestling fans, it's how much they like to talk about wrestling. Join Aaron Lopez and Ben Norsworthy for the Top Rope Wrestling Podcast.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Tune in every episode and be ringside as these two break down all of the big matches in the world of professional wrestling. Brought to you by Eventide Entertainment.
Hey guys, welcome back to Track Record. We just got done listening to my sexy ass talking about Thunderbolt by Saxon. Now we're going to send you over to this beautiful bastard, Mr. Robert Yetter, and he's going to tell you a little bit about what he thinks his favorite album from February was.
You're Mike Shea, by the way.
I am Mike Shea. I don't know if we introduced ourselves at the beginning of the show.
No.
I don't think we did. Oh, well. I'm Mike Shea. He's Robert Yetter. Now, if you don't know who we are at this point, hi. How you doing?
Hello. Also, we figured out the Andy Sneap mystery that I was curious about.
Yeah.
And it's in a drum pack that I have of drum samples. There's Andy Sneap samples. So I wasn't going crazy. I'd heard, so, you know. All right. February. I have an album by a band called Dead Empires, and the album's called Designed to Disappear. It came out on the 23rd of February, 2018, on Silent Pendulum Records. Not a very well-known label there, but they specialize in progressive rock, progressive metal rather, and black metal, stuff of that nature. After listening to this, I learned that I am somewhat of a progressive rock fan for the most part. I was referred to Mastodon through the listening process of this record, and I could not be more pleased, but also disappointed in myself that such a massive name in music has slipped by me.
I'm a little disappointed in you, Robert.
I mean, I guess that the progressive side of metal just went over my head. Either that or got ignored because, you know, it's a more mainstream metal genre. You know, yeah. That old phase.
Yeah.
So, you know, now I've listened to Leviathan, Crack the Sky, and Emperor of Sand, and I can't get enough of that shit. And I've listened to this album by Dead Empires about 5 times now. It's so good. You know, I don't know why, because, like, for instance, bands like Breaking Benjamin, I don't know why I would have tacked on, like, a progressive label to them. Or something about that progressive label. I don't know what it is. I just strayed away from it. And so, like, but Mastodon is so freaking good. Like, what the heck was I doing?
Blood and Thunder, I think, is my favorite song of theirs.
Blood and Thunder.
There's an album called Leviathan.
That's the,
it's about Moby Dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good shit.
Oh. That was the first one that I checked out from them.
Ah, good choice.
I just looked it up and I tried to find what was the best, you know, and so I went for that first, and man, it was a doozy. Mm-hmm. But that's enough of Mastodon. Dead Empires definitely takes a lot of inspiration from Mastodon. They have the this blend of sludge and progressive metal, which is one of the best genre pairings that you could ever come up with. It's like a Libra and a Gemini, or a Cabernet paired with a medium rare porterhouse. They sit so well together. And this band makes
nice comparison. I like that.
Thanks, man. You know, when you work in a restaurant for 7 years, steakhouse nonetheless, you got to learn those pairings. And you know, the way that this band makes the two genres flow into each other sounds so refreshing and innovative and creative. And that's the big takeaway from this record, is that it is endlessly creative and dynamic. It's technical in all the right places. It's heavy and grimy just when it needs to be. Sometimes not surprisingly so. It does come at you know, times that you don't expect, but that's a lot of the album. Is, you know, you hear very unexpected things throughout the process of listening to it. That's why I say it's dynamic. That is the definition of dynamic. And all of the different elements of genre aren't forced at all. You could tell it was just a very fluid writing process, and that they were just, you know, using all of their ability to make this thing as creative as possible. and it shows. I love the style of production on this album. It feels different than a lot of metal. It does have kind of that, I guess a little bit more mainstream, clean edge to it, but still maintaining, the sludge aspect of it, which is, rooted in like punk metal. And so it gets grimy. And it has a lot of this really crunchy, semi-synth sounding bass, giving it that industrial flair. And everything is mixed just perfectly. I think that the sound engineers on this bad boy are masters at stereo separation and panning. It was a really creative way to do that. There's ways to overdo that, which would make an album sound gimmicky. I hate when something is, they do the whole bridge where it'll switch ears or something like that. That's the gimmicky way to pan things. But this was just making use of stereo sound that they have a good feel for, and I feel like that they I guess I would take inspiration from how this record was mixed. They have a similar thought process, I think, to me, and how I would want my stuff to sound. My only negative is that after 44 minutes, the record stops, and that 44 minutes seems to go by so fast. And I feel like I just want one more song, maybe two, I don't know, maybe just 10 more minutes of the stuff. It's so good and so pleasing to listen to. It's so much fun. And that seems to be the theme of this episode, is fun. Again, it's fun to listen to. It was, I've listened to it multiple times now, and I get a kick out of it. Some of my favorite tracks, one is called The Form, which is track number 2 on the record. This one has a really strong industrial flair, but it's also one of the heavier songs. And when they get into the heavy moments, it really it rivals, some of the most brutal sounding death metal out there. Another song which was very highly regarded by myself is called Reverse Speak. This one features a beautiful piano piece kind of towards the middle. And again, the heavy moments on this one are a little more surprising, but they're to die for. It's almost, a lot of their heavy moments kind of lean towards the stoner metal a little bit, kind of, the slow kind of stoner metal riff. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
It does.
If you're familiar with stoner metal at all.
Yeah, I got a couple of bands from back home in Colombia that are stoner metal that I'm big fans of.
So I love that kind of simple but effective melody in stoner metal, and I think they make use of that here. So we've got industrial, stoner metal, sludge, progressive metal, and and then the last song on the album, if you didn't know what you were listening to, you would swear it was an Angels and Airwaves song. No lie. So I'm going to give this bad boy a 4 out of 4 purple stars. It was a really good find. I'm glad I found them. Everyone needs to go and pick up this album at the band's Bandcamp. You can actually pick up the entire discography of Dead Empires for less than $7. So you can't beat it. This album alone is worth, more than $7, let alone the whole discography. But just bear in mind, if you do purchase the entire discography, just bear in mind that this album is their first one that they've recorded with a vocalist. So their prior 2 albums, 2 or 3 albums, are instrumental sludge progressive rock albums.
That's cool.
So just bear that in mind. You didn't get like some weird instrumental versions, some Japanese instrumental, versions. It's just they were an instrumental band, and they introduced a vocalist who does a wonderful job. And that brings me to a point that I wanted to make on this show, is that we actually do buy the music that we review.
We do.
Not all the time, like
I use, and we don't
if
we
it's
don't steal
something
the
that
music.
I genuinely, we don't steal the music. If it's, but I've bought, I will say, at least half of the music that we've reviewed.
What I use, I have Boost Mobile, and they have an app called Tidal that lets you. It's kind of like Spotify, only good, and it lets me stream whole albums, and that's what I always stream the albums I listen to on Tidal, and then if it's something I actually like, I then go buy it on iTunes.
Yeah,
so it's
well, in this day and age too, they consider streams as, I don't know what the calculation is, but when something goes gold or platinum,
it gets factored.
They take into
somehow.
account the streams, and so you just by listening, you are helping. Yeah. But it's always nice to purchase and support artists, especially artists like Dead Empires, who are less well known.
They're on an indie label. I mean, that's this is the only place you can get their stuff is on Bandcamp. So. Yep,
they need it. All independent music needs support from their listeners. They need, the help of their fans. Mm-hmm. So if you like independent music, you should support it. And that's your PSA for the day.
Yeah, and if you want to check out some independent music, go to eventideent.com where you can check out.
And there's your plug for the day.
There's your plug for the we got new stuff coming out of the word work here soon. More details on that as they become available. But we got a lot of stuff up right now that you can get for $6 for an album, and you get a whole album of music. I mean, you can get Robert as Citizen 7 has an album that has like 15 tracks on it, maybe 12.
Yeah,
for $6. Like, you can't beat that. That's nowadays you pay $12 for an 8-track album on iTunes. I mean, we're giving you double that for half the price. So, boom.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, because I hear people talk about that a lot, where it's like, oh, I really like this whatever local indie band, blah blah blah, but they stopped making music. It's like probably because nobody bought their shit.
Yeah.
So if you want good local and independent stuff to flourish,
and local venues don't want to pay people to play.
No, they don't. But that's for another show. That's for another podcast. just you and me, just you and me sitting around bitching about the music industry.
Sounds good.
We're just creating shows every week on this show. We're just creating shows. I swear, like every week.
It should just be a whole new podcast show where we just fucking bitch about things, anything.
Today we're talking about fucking thumbtacks. Like getting those fuckers in is so easy to do, but trying to get them out again, like fuck thumbtacks, man. Fuck thumbtacks.
Who uses thumbtacks?
I do. I have a corkboard in my office that I have to use. But
they don't give you push pins?
Sometimes they do.
With the fucking grippies?
Sometimes they do. Yeah.
I can't get those fuckers in. I'd rather have a thumbtack.
I've got wood paneling on my walls, and I hang shit up on the walls. Like if you can see my room right now, I got like calendars and collectible action figures and shit, and I got those hung up on the wall with push pins. And trying to push those fuckers into wood paneling, the fake wood paneling hurts my thumbs.
You just push them into your eyes.
What's the cut my wrists and black my eye. Slipknot, I push my thumbtacks into my eyes.
You talk about I was talking about My Chemical Romance yesterday actually. It was actually, I think, my first concert.
Really?
It was. Oh yeah, I used to be into that shit.
Who
but it
was
so, and I went to this concert with my mother, and it was I was fucking, I don't know how old I was. I would have been terrified if I went alone. It was Lost Prophets.
Oh man.
Story of the Year.
Oh my god.
And My Chemical Romance.
That is, oh my god, that's like emo rock mecca right there. Holy shit.
I did that shit, man.
And only, oh man, none of those bands are even around. Well, Story of the Year is still around. They just did an anniversary tour, but MCR has been gone for a while, and Lost Prophets had to break up because their lead singer was a baby raper, so.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
The more you know. There you go, kids. That's your heartwarming story for today.
That's right. And on that note.
I think we have a show, Robert.
Beautiful.
All right. Cool. I hope you guys enjoyed this again. Let us know what you thought of our picks for Best of February, or if you have one of your own that maybe we didn't talk about. Send us a tweet at TrackRecordEE, hashtag Gary Busey loves potato salad, and let us know what you thought. We love to hear from you guys, and you guys can always, always, always recommend an album for us to talk about. Once a month, we try to talk about an album that a fan has suggested. Just send us a tweet and let us know what album you want to listen to from us, and we just write them down. We write them down and save them back, and then when it comes time to do that episode, we pull one out of the list and we talk about it. We might like it. We might hate it. Who knows? Listen to last week's show if you're curious. But it's always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We have fun on the show.
We try.
All right, guys. Make sure you check us out online. Check everything out. And make sure you tune back in again next week. Same time, same URL, same web address. Right here on Track Record.
I was just thinking we should have, why don't we have all these YouTubers, right? They have like their little sign off that they do, right?
Right.
There's this one girl that Candace watches, and I hate her sign off. And it's like, because it doesn't make any fucking sense. She says, all right, everyone, like, we'll see you in the next episode, which is not this one because this one is over. Goodbye.
I hate that. I hate that so much.
What?
That's so bad.
We
need something on par with like You Stay Classy, San Diego, or Walter Cronkite. That's the way it was, or Jim Carrey and Bruce Almighty. That's the way the cookie crumbles. We need something.
Yeah, we'll think on it, folks. We'll think.
Tweet us your suggestions. Send us your suggestions for a good sign off. I mean,
it's got to be better than just like Later Fuckers, which we've done on multiple occasions.
I mean, I the most we have is I always say at the end of it, I think we have a show, but that's like the signaling that the show's about to end. We need a good proper sign off.
That's right.
We'll think of something. Nothing but time on our hands.
Nothing but time. Well, and spooge.
Depends on the day. I did that earlier. Anyway.
Now the internet knows.
Oh, trust me. The internet's aware.
Yes. Some of it is out in the internet. You just have to know where to look.
Yeah, go look on that. What's that fucking 4chan knockoff where people were posting like their ex's nudes and shit.
Oh God,
that piece of shit.
Anonymous image board.
Whoever fucking started that shit, like, can go right to hell. That's a level of fucked up I can't even fathom.
Dudes have like just an obscene amount of perverted time on their hands.
You know, it'd be funny. I'm gonna take my ex-girlfriend. I'm gonna post her nudes on the internet. Oh, it was just fuck you. You're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Again with the negativity. All right,
that's fine. This will be the post-credits.
Sam.
Post-credits tag, Easter egg at the end of the episode.
We'll find an egg out of that.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Take care. Enjoy yourselves. Be safe. Stay classy. I don't know. One of those has got to stick. We'll see.
Put your dick on the table.
There you go.
Just set your nuts on the carving board. Wait.